let's talk about flags. Now, a guy who painted a St George's cross across his driveway has bedecked his home in near Canterbury in Kent, a place called Thanington. His name is Martin Baker, 50-year-old bricklayer, father of three, patriotic, loves his football team, painted his drive, put George Cross flags everywhere. Because England are in the Euros. He wants England, his country, to win the Euros. So he thought he'd put a few flags out. All the local, they're all saying he's a racist. He's a racist because of this. And it got me thinking. I mean, I think I'm right in saying I don't think there's any other country in the world that turns round and associates its flag with racism. You know, the George Cross, what are you, some sort of fascist, are you a Nazi? You know, why? It's our flag. England is a country, that's our flag. And if this guy wants to support his football team, why are you calling him a racist? It's a very strange attitude that England has with its flag. And I thought it might be interesting to discuss this with author and sociologist Frank Furedi. Thanks for joining us, Frank.
Pleasure. Nice seeing you.
Why is this? I mean, I think I'm right in saying I don't think there's another country on the face of the earth that associates its flag with bad things, with racism, with a certain sort of Neanderthal political approach to life, so on and so forth. This poor guy, it's in the Euros. He wants England to win. He puts a few George Crosses across his house, paints his drive. They all call him a racist. What is this about, Frank?
Well, you know, this has been going on for a while. You will recall that 20, 30 years ago, people that used to fly the Union Jack used to get called fascist and racist as well. And what's happened is that this reaction against national flags, our national flags, has now focused itself on the flag of England. And one of the things that I find really quite disturbing is that we live in a world where symbols of British society or English society are very often looked down upon as being somehow morally inferior to other kinds of flags. So, for example, if this guy had a bunch of flags on his house that were LGBTQ rainbow flags, or even better, if he had the flag of Europe with the little stars in a circle around it, that would have been seen as being really good, you know, very enlightened.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, that
Well,
would have
the
been
Ukraine flag, of course, as well.
Ukraine.
That's
Yeah,
very popular as well. People put that
yeah,
on their social media
yes,
timelines, don't they? Yes.
that's right. That would have been perfectly all right. But there are some flags that are basically seen as a toxic symbol of some kind of national disease. England, the same flag also goes for the Union Jack. If you, for example, go around with an Israeli flag in England, that will be seen also in a negative light. But the worst thing, as you suggest, is that what this basically says is being patriotic, loving your own country, being proud of your country is now seen as a problem rather than as something that you want young people to aspire to.
Yeah, and you know, let's not. People will say, well, one of the reasons people look down on the English flag is, of course, it over the years has been hijacked by, I'm going to say far right groups. I mean proper far right groups, as opposed to not far right groups that people pretend are far right. We're talking about the National Front, the BNP, the British National Party, and I think the English Defence League now as well. They kind of hijack the flag and they use it, but this is not unique to Britain. All over the world, right-wing groups hijack their national flag, try to make it their own, but that does not make the rest of the nation turn round, for example in Germany, and say we hate our flag and anyone who salutes our flag is clearly a Neanderthal right-wing idiot. Doesn't happen anywhere else but here. Why do you think that is?
I think it's got to do with the hostility that particularly liberal left-wing society has had towards any kind of manifestation of British patriotism. I think Britain is quite unique in that respect because, unlike other nations in Europe, it has never been over the top patriotic. It's never been like the Germans or the French. And as a result of that, there's an assumption that if you're an educated, civilized person, you're not going to demonstrate your love of your own nation. And that's why you have a very big problem because you use the term the far right hijacked the flag. What that really means is that they're the only ones that take the flag seriously. Everybody
Yeah.
else, they have given up on it. So it's not even hijacking, it's by default because when conservatives and members of the Labour Party ignore the flag, well, what do you expect? It's
Yeah.
going to be taken up by a certain section of society.
Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting point insofar as you're right, hijacking it isn't the right word. As I say, in countries like Germany, yes, far right groups have embraced the flag, but that does not entail the rest of the nation saying, well, if you far rightists like the flag, we hate it. Only we do this. Do you remember 2010, I think it was? The Miliband campaign against David Cameron, the election, which Miliband went on to lose. Those were the days when Labour used to lose elections. And do you remember Emily Thornberry, and then a shadow
I do.
front, she went down to Thanet, where there was a lot of St George Cross patriots in Thanet, North Kent, very big Brexit kind of area. Nothing wrong with that, I must stress. She went down there and then she went past a house with some George Cross flags draped from the upper windows, plus a van with a white and red cross on it as well. Took a picture and sort of went, the view from Thanet. In this sort of superior way. Ed Miliband, to his credit, in a rare moment of sentience on his part, went absolutely ape at her and just said, "How dare you do this? These are our voters, etc." But that is a window into what, shall we say, a certain sort of metropolitan elite view of those who would adore our flag.
It does, and there's a kind of contempt that they exude towards people who love their country. They really think that people that take our national celebrations seriously are somehow morally inferior to them. And when you have things like Queen's Jubilees, and when you have various kind of celebrations to do with a particular event, they kind of very, very kind of self-consciously distance themselves from that. We're not going to be part of this. We're not like these people. And do you remember that when you had the uh, the event in Albert Hall, where everybody was singing, "Rule Britannia,"
Yeah.
they would kind of come along and basically either suggest that "Rule Britannia" should not be sung, or they would come along with the European flags, waving them to demonstrate that they weren't like all these other kind of people. So there's a almost like a self-hatred of your own nation on the part of a lot of people, and particularly by the cultural elites who've institutionalized, who've given a given in a sense a legitimacy to looking down upon our patriotic symbols. And that's a problem because if you're not allowed to love our country, then basically what you're saying is that we're living in this abstract world in the middle of nowhere with no roots, with no connections, where communities themselves lose any kind of sense of meaning.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And only recently, was it 2 weeks ago now, the Normandy Beach memorials over there in France. All those northern French towns down there, they bedecked their towns with Union Jacks to say thank you to the British,
Yeah.
for laying down their lives to not only help Britain win the war, but also to free the French. So they are Union Jacks everywhere on this very special day, the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings. Come back to Britain. I couldn't see any Union Jacks. I saw quite a few Palestine flags here, there, and everywhere. I mean, just odd, just really odd. There's the French flying the Union Jack for all they're worth on this very special day. Good for them, by the way. Us, not even bothering. It's weird, isn't it?
It is, and you very often go to different parts of Europe, and you will find that you have hotels with Union Jacks waving away. You will find that you go to the beach, and the British flag is there, and then sometimes even the English flag is there. And that's just seen as being a normal thing to exhibit. Whereas when we come back to our own society, it's almost like you got to really search, very, very hard to see any signs of such flags. And certainly, increasingly, even in municipal buildings or in public buildings, you'll find that these flags are conspicuous by their absence. But at the same time, you go to any old university and you will see millions of LGBTQ flags, rainbow flags. You will see Palestinian flags. The one flag you guaranteed never to see is that of their own
Is
nation.
that their own nation? And I saw, I mean, I really want England to win the Euros for two reasons. One, I want them to win. And two, because it will really annoy people like Emily Thornberry. And I don't think the BBC helps either, insofar as, they sponsor this banning of the singing of Land of Hope and Glory. I saw just moving off on a tangent, I saw the Romania-Ukraine match the other day, and when both those countries and the fans and the players were singing their national anthem, you could see the tears in their eyes, all of them with their hands across their heart. Not remotely thinking that patriotism is something bad, but concluding quite logically that it's something very, very good. And why we have abrogated it, why we have dispensed it to the trash can, I can't understand. Frank, excellent to talk to you. Thank you very much for your time, as always.